in this image, my twins look like giants compared to the background. They're taller than half the buildings. So I need to adjust their size in order to make them fit onto my background. To do that, I'm going to use the Transform tool. I can find the Transform tool under Edit, Transform, and I can choose Free Transform or Transform. Under Transform, I have a number of options that we should be familiar with. The first one is Scale. The scale will adjust the size of my object. And I want to be very careful when I'm moving this object, because if I go too far left or too far down, I can really squash my picture into a funky looking shape. This is no good for anyone. I'm going to go ahead and undo that real quick. I'm going to go right back to Transform and hit Scale. And this time, when I drag my image, I'm going to hold down the Shift key. Holding down the Shift key locks the proportions of my image. That means no matter where I move my mouse, my image is going to keep the same aspect ratio. It's not going to squish itself into a funky, wonky look. When I found the size that I want, I'm going to go ahead and hit the Enter key to apply that transformation. Another way to access the transform controls is by making sure my arrow tool is selected and ticking this box here that says Show Transform Controls. If this box is ticked, any layer that I select will have transform controls around it. So when these transform controls are selected, all I have to do is grab an edge to reopen the transform controller. The next option under my transform controls is rotate. It's pretty obvious what this one does. It gives me a rotation controller. When this option is selected, I can click and drag to rotate in any way that I like. I can also hold down the Shift key while rotating to make my image jump in 15-degree increments. When I've reached the rotation I like, again, I hit Enter to apply the transformation. Another tool that is very useful when transforming is the Free Transform control. I can access this by pressing Ctrl-T, or I can find it in the Edit menu. When Free Transform is activated, I can rotate my image by clicking around a corner, or I can resize my image by dragging directly on a corner. In addition to scale and rotate, the other transform controls I want to be aware of are position and opacity. Position simply means where my object is located in the art box. I can change the position at any time by clicking and dragging on the selected layer. If I want to select a different layer, I simply Control-click on that layer. Finally, the opacity control. When I have a layer selected, to drop opacity, I simply click and drag under the opacity scanner to change the transparency of my image. In this case, I don't want to mess with opacity, so I'll leave it at 100. Let's go ahead and put our twins in the middle of the picture and save our project.